Shalom, Brakti Yahweh, Brakti Yahushai, Brakti Yahweh, Brakti Yahushai, Brakti Yahweh, Brakti Yahushai. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, double honors to the apostles, and elders, and bishops of Great Millstone, that taught us his word, peace, and salutations to the hopeful elect across the planet Earth, pushing this truth in sincerity and in truth. I just got this article at a TASS.com, Russian news agency. Basically, they're saying, Ukraine is going to fight until the very end. They're not going to stop. They're going to keep pushing until the last Ukrainian is standing. And eventually, America is going to take on that same stance, when this World War III kicks off. And, there's going to be a draft and all that. And America's going to keep, pushing and pushing. And it's just going to be all out war and chaos and ultimately devastation and destruction for Babylon the Great as well as Israel. But the Lord said he would keep you from that northern army, But this is dated May 30th. So Zelensky receives orders to continue fighting until last Ukrainian. United Nations, European sponsors are ordering Zelensky to fight until the last Ukrainian. Russia's permanent representative to the UN said at a Security Council meeting on Ukraine. Ukraine has lost millions of its citizens and is still on the verge of complete defeat. Its European sponsors are ordering Zelensky and his clique to continue fighting until the last Ukrainian. This is forcing Kiev regime to round up Ukrainian men on the streets. The diplomat stressed. Yeah, so they're going around. I saw videos on that before. They're going into nightclubs, they're going into the streets, basically just kidnapping Ukrainian men and for inscription, for really a draft, just rounding up men on the streets. And that same thing's going to happen, here in America. There's going to be a draft. They're going to reinstitute that draft and ship off a bunch of young men to war, But this is 2 Ezra 16:32. And the earth shall be laid waste, and the fields thereof shall wax old, and her ways and all her paths shall grow full of thorns, because no man shall travel through. Yeah, you see that in movies like those apocalyptic movies. One comes to mind is I Am Legend, where all the streets in New York are filled with, different shrubs and weeds and stuff because people aren't using those roads anymore. You see wildlife, a bunch of deers were running through it, lions even. And that's going to happen here in America, man. The virgin shall mourn, having no bridegrooms, and the women shall mourn, having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers. In the wars shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine. Yeah, so it says, in the wars shall the bridegrooms be destroyed, that ultimate main war, World War III, So America's going to be invaded, These rulers, this is Ezekiel 38:10. Thus saith the Lord power, it shall come to pass that at that same time shall things come into thy mind. And thou shalt think an evil thought, and thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages, and I'll go to them that are at rest, and dwell safely, all them dwelling without walls, and having neither bars nor gates, to take a spoil, and to take a prey, and to turn thine hand upon the desolate places that are now inhabited, and upon the people that are gathered out of the nations, which have gotten cattle, goods, and dwell in the midst of the land. Yeah, some of Babylon the Great, they land unwalled villages. That's why they call it the virgin daughter of Babylon. America's never been touched, man. But that's going to come to an end. Eventually, this place is going to get touched. It's going to get, invaded. It's also known as land that sitteth upon many waters. So this place can easily just be invaded if it wanted to. The military isn't as large. They need a whole lot of young men volunteering to sign up for the Coast Guard, and all these different military branches. That's why they're gonna have to have that draft. The virgins shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. Women shall mourn, having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers. In the wars shall their bridegrooms be destroyed. Yeah. So you're gonna have to, just like they're doing in Russia, rounding up men on the streets for inscription, to be drafted. And you have to do that here in America. You go to any mall, across, a city or whatever, they have these army recruitment centers. They have one where I'm at, and every time I go in there, that place is just empty. Maybe like one recruiter, a couple of recruiters working in there, but this place is always empty. Whenever it's open, most of the time it's closed. Why is that? Because no one's signing up, to take part in these military branches like they once did. When the spirit of America was thriving. It says, I will go to the land of all village gather, and I'll go to them that are at rest. Yeah, everybody in America is at rest, man. As soon as they say peace and safety, that's when sudden destruction shall come upon them, man. I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely, and all of them without walls, having no bars or no gates. Yeah, this place is ripe for the picking, man. But America's going to get invaded, but the Lord said, I will keep thee, from that northern army. Joel 2:19, yea, the Lord will answer and say to his people, behold, I will send you corn, wine, and oil, and ye shall be satisfied therein. And I will no more make you approach among the heathen, but I will remove far off from you the northern army, and I'll drive him into a land that's barren and desolate, with his face toward the east sea, and his hinder part toward the utmost sea. And his snake shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he hath done great things. Yeah, the northern army. It's talking about the American army, man. The Lord said, I will remove far from you, and I'll drive them to a land that's barren and desolate over there in the Middle East. Valley of decision, valley of Jehoshaphat, Yahweh's judgment. With his face toward the east sea and his hinder part toward the utmost sea, his thing shall come up, his ill savor shall come up, because he hath done great things. Yeah, eventually those armies, those nations that are going to be gathered together, the Lord said it's his determination to gather these nations together over there in the Middle East. And eventually he's going to destroy them, wipe them out. That'll be his righteous anger, his judgment of the Lord. It'll be the first job of these surviving nations, man. All the heathens that are going to be, leave the captivity shall go into captivity. All these other nations are going to go under captivity, under the Israelites, under Yahweh. That's going to be their first job, is to bury all those bodies over there in the Middle East that get destroyed. The Lord said, I will move far from you, the northern army, so you don't have to worry about, this war, unless, you're slated or it's your lot to become a martyr. You'll get caught up in, these concentration camps or whatever. But, the Lord's going to put the spirit on you to be able to deal with that. But the only armor that we're going to put on is the armor of faith. It says in Ephesians 6:13, wherefore take unto you the whole armor of the Most High, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, having done all to stand. The evil day is right upon us, man. It's an hour of temptation. We're going to need all the faith and that armor of the Lord that we can get in that day. You're not going to be able to buy anything or sell anything. At least you have the mark. The Lord said if you take that mark, you're going to be destroyed. That mark is going to represent your allegiance to Esau, man. You're telling Esau that you want to be his master. You take that mark. And the Lord, Yahweh, he's your Lord, Savior, not Esau. All right? That's why you're going to be destroyed if you take that mark. So you're not going to be able to do anything with or without that mark. So, yeah, man. that you may be able to withstand that evil day. You got to put on this whole armor of the Most High. You know what I mean? Verse 14, stand therefore, having your loins girded about with truth, and having the breastplate of righteousness. Yeah, you should wear that righteousness as a breastplate, man. As your shield, trying to follow law, statutes, commandments, to the best of your ability, live with the virtues of righteousness, you know, temperance, prudence, justice, fortitude. Those all should be part of your own personal, philosophy. You should live by those guidelines, man, as well as the law statutes, commandments of Yahweh Shai, man, the Most High. Keep them to the best of your ability, man. That's how you put on that breastplate of righteousness. And if you shot with the preparation of the gospel of peace, above all, taking the shield of faith. That's the most important thing, man. Is faith, believing in Yahweh Shai that He is your guide. Wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked, wherever this devil has in store, whatever he has in plan for you, whatever he's cooking up, and ultimately, that nuclear destruction, man. You'll be able to quench all them fiery darts, man. Ultimately through salvation, being up in that ship, if you're part of the elect. But yeah, taking on that shield of faith, that's the most important thing, man. And take the helmet of salvation, and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of the Most High, man. Keeping that word in you, man, keeping the truth in you, and ultimately always keeping your mind focused on that salvation, man. Because when that nuclear destruction comes, man, that's how you're going to quench that. It's being beamed up into that ship. That salvation, man. So you always want to make sure you have that helmet, because that's what's going to keep you. That's going to keep that faith on you, man. That's going to keep the Spirit, the sword of the Spirit that's on you, man. The word. You're going to constantly be near that water, man. Near that water. Praying always, verse 18, praying always with all prayer and supplication in spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints. Praying always and watching, man. Flip that to the AMP, see what it says. For verse 18, 6 and 18. Ephesians 6 and 18. With all prayer and petition pray with specific requests at all times, on every occasion, in every season, man. In the Spirit, and with this in view, stay alert with all preservation and petition, interceding in prayer for all the Most High's people, Yahweh Shemiah's people, the elect, man. Yeah, prayer, supplication, and faith. That's what it's going to take to get you through these last times, man. And watching as well as pray. So Yahweh Shai said, man, you need all these things, man, so that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, man. Which is right upon us, man. Time of Jacob's trouble. It's gonna be like a time like no other. Hour of temptation, and ultimately this nuclear destruction, man. Where these virgins are gonna mourn, and the widows having no bridegroom, man. The women shall mourn, having no husbands, because they're gonna get drafted. So they're already doing that in the UK, man. Ukraine. This guy said Ukraine has lost millions of its citizens already, man. And all this coming to America, man. But with that, shalom.